Everyone will go ahead and get started. We'll first go to Greg Hunter.
Hey, Bob, one quick look back to Monday. When you draw up a play at the end of the game, how much do you worry about the strict following of the play, and how much do you just want the ball in the hands of your best player or players?
I want both. I mean, that's what we talk about. I mean, I want both to do what they're supposed to do, and they did.
Do you have a lot of in-game plays that you specifically wait to use it at that point in time, or do you just pull stuff out?
You know, I do, but it depends on the situation. It depends on who you're playing, how they're playing defensively. You know, they're not pack line, but they have pack line principles. I mean, they really try to guard the basket and make you shoot it over top of them. But I mean, you know, we can call timeout and run a play and look out there and they're in zone. You know, or something else. I mean, with the way Deuce is playing, they could be in a triangle and two, or a box and one. I mean, we try to prep the guys for all those. That's hard. That's hard to do. It takes a lot of time, and then half of them don't remember it anyway. So you really got to go over it.
Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering if I could just get your reaction to, this will be the first home game where they're, letting in some fans, a little bit more than just immediate family. You're going to have, I think, 1,000 people in there. Just your reaction to that for the first time this year.
Well, I think everybody's excited about it. I mean, it's the times. I mean, we'd have been really disappointed if all this hadn't happened and we only had 1,000 fans there. But now that we haven't had, hardly any, to have 1,000 there, I think that's a step in the right direction. How's that?
Absolutely.
Ethan Bach.
Hey, Coach, with Darris coming back to Morgantown, what do you remember most as a player, and do you have any good stories on him?
Well, I was we had all that time to really do nothing, the quarantine and all. So I went back and looked at the NCAA tournament when we played Arizona, Duke, and Xavier, which Darris was our point guard for those games. And I went back and looked at that. So I saw 3 games of Darris, and he ran the show. He did a great job of running the show.
Kevin Kinder.
Coach, there's been some discussion and probably more speculation about conference tournaments, whether they should be played or not, potentially teams opting out. What's your view on that?
I don't know why there's a discussion. I think they're going to be played. I mean, at least the Power Fives are going to be played. There's television contracts, man. Television contracts and a lot of money. Of which, the conference gets their fair share. The schools get a share. So I think absolutely. I think everybody realizes what happened when we didn't have a conference tournament, when we didn't have an NCAA tournament. I think everybody now realizes the economic impact on the universities and the conferences. It's real life. It's real life, man. Yeah, it's not, all the talk about, you know, there's a lot of things in this world, as you know, Kevin, that maybe we shouldn't do, but we still do. You shouldn't smoke, but a lot of people still smoke, you know. There's a lot of things in this world that we maybe shouldn't do, but we do. So, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I think with the advent of the bubble, I mean, we did it in South Dakota, and it was fine. Teams didn't come together. You know, no one ended up with COVID-19 out there. It was all good. Everybody got tested every day. There's ways to do it. I mean, but it's not fun.
John Antonic.
I was watching your deal with Caridi, and you were talking about their transition game. Is that explain that to me? Is that transition offense, early offense, or is that just them pushing the ball to the rim and trying to score as quickly as they can?
It's both. It's both. I mean, with the speed that they have and the ball speed that several of their guys have, it's advantageous for them to attack a defense that's not a set defense, that's spread a little bit.
One other thing here, generally speaking, how do you slow down athletic teams?
Score.
Okay.
The more you score, the less likely that they're going to be able to transition you.
Ryan Pritt.
Hey, Bob. After Monday's game, you were kind of expressing some concern about your post guys, having to get them back on track a little bit. And I was looking it up, and I think Derek in particular, the last 3 games is 12 for 32 from the floor, which I know probably isn't good enough. I was just wondering what you saw on him in terms of his finishing offensively, and kind of how important is it that you get him back on track in that aspect?
Well, as he and I talked about, he looked like the old Derek rather than the new Derek. And I like the new Derek a lot better than the old Derek. He just wasn't playing strong. He's playing straight up and down. I mean, Derek is so powerful when he's in a stance, when he's in an athletic stance. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, shortstops don't play baseball with their legs crossed, or, you know, their hands on their hips. You know, you have to be able to move. You have to be able to move. And in Derek's case, he has to be able to move, and in a lot of instances, move several people, because there's a lot of people grabbing him and holding him and pushing on him. So it's important that he's in an athletic stance.
Back to Justin.
Hey, Coach, looking at Florida, they're a team that's gone through quite a lot this year, from losing their top scorer, best player, to a very scary situation, to having a bunch of games postponed and canceled through COVID, which obviously you guys are familiar with that as well. You know, just looking at their situation and you know, where the team is now, your thoughts on that, all that.
Well, I think they're very fortunate to have the depth that they have. They've got great depth. I mean, they're bringing guys in off the bench that were whatever, top, you know, 30, top 50 players coming out of high school. So I think in the long run, it may help them, because they're getting people minutes that maybe ordinarily wouldn't get minutes. I think you can look at it that way. But they're talented. They've got an extremely talented bench, as well as an extremely talented front line.
Mike Casaza.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Getting in pretty early this time, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't wait anymore to ask this. As you played a handful of games now with, you know, leftover lineups, I guess, or I shouldn't say leftover, but who's available, and also having to make it work with illnesses and all that. I guess, what have you learned from maybe people who have been put into different situations, maybe not just in the starting lineup, but maybe bench guys who've been asked to do different things? And as you have a body of work now, anything in particular stand out?
I mean, I think you saw we're comfortable playing. What do we have? 11 guys. We're comfortable playing 11 guys. I think every day Cindy gets better. I think everybody has seen and probably to a degree marveled at how fast Kedrian has caught on and what he gives us when he comes in the ball game. So I'm pleased with what our guys are giving us.
Playing Deuce and Jordan together is obviously good for Deuce off the ball. I'm guessing it's good for Jordan too. That pairing there, and also it hasn't cut into Deuce's assist and point guard roles either. But how has that combination worked?
Well, I mean, I think it's what we thought we were going to do going in, and then Sean went through a period where he didn't miss a shot, and then Taz started making shots, and now you're trying to find room to get those two guys on the floor as well. Those two guys can score a lot of points in a short period of time, and that was the biggest reason that we moved Deuce to point guard, so we could get those guys on the floor a little bit more. But then, things happen, and you start to look around and you say, well, I don't know if that things would have happened if Jordan's in the game. So Jordan does give us a steadying influence, and he knows the system inside and out, so to speak. So he helps other guys in that regard tremendously.
We'll go to Chris in Florida.
Hey, Bob, I know you mentioned that Darris ran the show. If you could, I mean, we know him as an assistant coach here. Is there anything else you can tell us about Darris, the player, what kind of player he was, where his deficiencies might have been, and maybe where his strengths were?
We had an ugly looking jump shot, but for some reason it went in, but it was ugly looking.
What about defensively, Coach?
We played a lot of different defenses back then, and Darris was the guy who really helped get people where they were supposed to be. He had a great understanding of what we needed done. I think from the beginning, he really wanted to learn. Really, he was obviously very well versed in what John did, and what we do is different. There's similarities obviously, but it's kind of different than what John did, and Darris picked it up very quickly, and I think the great thing was not did he just pick it up, but he helped other people pick it up.
Did you see coaching in his future? Did he have that kind? I mean, I'm sure coaches can see future coaches. Could you have sensed it?
Well, I was honestly, I was a little bit surprised he didn't keep playing for a little while longer.
Mm-hmm.
But he came in and said, he wanted to be a coach. That's the direction he wanted to go, and he's obviously done a great job with it.
Did he ever park your car at the Waterfront Hotel when he became a valet in his post playing career?
No, I wouldn't let him in my car.
Thank you very much.
Back to Greg.
Hey, Bob, Jalen, the lights really come on for him the last 5 or so games, slow start, but really rolling now. What have you seen from him that has sort of really elevated his play lately?
Well, I think he's a lot more comfortable now. I think everybody is. I think everybody is a lot more comfortable in their role, and I think they're playing a lot freer. I think JB's playing a lot freer than what he was. I think he was kind of tight, afraid to make a mistake, that kind of thing.
Back to John.
Oh, I don't know how deep you've gone in and looked at these guys. Have they changed anything since Johnson was out of the lineup? And then I look here at the last 3 games. That Tennessee game is the one that really jumps out, the way they played against them.
I didn't watch any games when Johnson was playing.
Okay,
I didn't think that would help us any.
Okay, so you didn't go back that far. But what about the Tennessee game that really jumped out at you? That's the game that they played really well.
It's one of those games where they played extremely well, and Tennessee played very poorly for Tennessee.
Okay.
And they took advantage of it, which is what you're supposed to do. They took advantage of it, and I think it was, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think it was great for Coach White because he got to play some other guys, look at them in a game situation against a top 10 team. You know, so I think that helped elongate his bench.
If there's no further questions for Coach, Carly, you will have the last one.
Coach, what'd you see from Darris in his year as a grad assistant that you said, hey, maybe this guy could be a good coach someday?
I don't think a whole lot more than what I saw as a player. He was a coach on the floor. You know, his understanding of the game, how to play it. You know, Darris was like a quarterback on our team. He got the ball where the ball was supposed to go, when it was supposed to get there. And defensively, he kind of helped get guys where they were supposed to be and the gaps they were supposed to be in. So I wasn't surprised at all when he was a GA. I mean, Deshaun, same way. I mean, he and Deshaun were 2 guys that had great understanding of basketball. You know, not just the way we play basketball or the way John played basketball, but basketball in general. They had a great feel.
And Justin.
Coach, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, this Big 12 SEC challenge thing, obviously you're focused on your game and obviously not the other 9. But do you have a casual interest in what happens in the other 9 games? Do you think coaches in general, you know, care about the overall challenges between the 2 conferences?
I think to a degree. I mean, certainly not what you get concerned about when we're playing each other. But yeah, I mean, it's I think people use it to a degree in recruiting. Justin, I think that's the biggest thing. It's a recruiting thing, and it I'm sure it's lucrative for the conference, both conferences.
John.
Hey, I got one here at the end here. What do you remember about Will Robinson? I'm working on something here on Will Robinson. Were you around at all or he come back at when you were around? Do you remember him at all as a player?
I played a lot against Will.
Okay.
A lot. What I remember the most is you knew he was going to drive right and you couldn't stop him.
Okay. Jump over everybody and shoot a jump shot?
Will couldn't pat it twice with his left hand, but he always got where he wanted to go. I mean, it was really amazing, you know, and you watched them play against, you know, Jerome Anderson was pro, you know, Jerome Anderson played with the Celtics, and I think really that was the reason the Celtics liked him so much is because he was a 6'7" guy who had ball skills and that, but he could guard. Yeah. And I mean, Will killed us all. Eartha, me, Tony. I mean, it didn't matter. He destroyed us all. And we knew what he was going to do. That's the thing. You know, you knew he was driving right. You knew he was going to bounce it right and pull up and shoot that jump shot. And you couldn't keep him from getting there.
Just so quick.
Oh, just so quick. I tell you what, so explosive. You know, he he released his shot where, probably 6'10", 6'11" guys release their shot. He had such a great bounce and a good guy. I mean, Will is really, really a good guy.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, I think that's it. Appreciate your time today.
All right, miss.
Thank you. Stand by for student athletes.